With the love that came from Resident Evil 2, the sequel was highly anticipated by everybody, critics, fans, and even the company themselves. Resident Evil 2 was a bestseller, reaching a little under 5 million, while Resident Evil 3 ended up making 4 million, so still making good money in the eyes of Capcom. This game had an action-focused element, while keeping the horror part very much prominent, thanks to Nemesis, who we'll discuss about later. This game was named after him, which is good because if you play the game, it's very clear as to why. It takes place before Resident Evil 2, but after Resident Evil 1, being 2 months after, so it explains as to why the city feels so empty and barren, other than just zombies in Resident Evil 2. The game was supposed to be a spin-off, since it was handled by a B team. A brand new character that was going to be introduced. However, at the last second, they switched the game to a mainline, but kept the team. Similar to many games that will ever come after this game, the protagonist of this one is returning. Jill Valentine, but this time she has companions, but not with Chris, sadly. This time she is with a bunch of mercenaries that come from the Umbrella Corporation, who are like the big bad of this series. They got Carlos and Nikolai, another person that I quite literally couldn't remember the name of because they did nothing other than just kind of be there in the background. Carlos actually ends up being your buddy in this game, while Nikolai ends up just betraying the entire group and just being a complete snake. But he ends up being killed by Nemesis, who himself is a menace. He blows Mr. X out of the water in every single way. I don't even know how to explain it, but he was spent there specifically to kill all the STARS members that were left in Raccoon City. And it was first displayed when he was killing Brad, who was on the team in the first game, but he wasn't really important that much. But yeah, he was personally there just to establish his goal, his purpose, and just how ruthless this guy is. And similar to the first game and the second game, this game has secrets and it's the usual stuff you would expect from a Resident Evil game. In addition, there are also new endings which can be unlocked, which are dependent on the choices that you make throughout the game. And yep, unlike Resident Evil 2 and 1, this has branching storylines and gameplay, all within one campaign. For example, Nikolai could either die from Nemesis if you choose to interact with him in a certain way on a bridge, or he'll just straight up die in a helicopter in a fight you have with him. So Nemesis in this game is obviously the main star in every aspect, as I just mentioned. He is aggressive and just, genuinely a horrifying presence to be near. He will randomly appear in places, and I mean like randomly. He will just jump through a window out of nowhere and just absolutely blitz you. This game still has tank controls, which, woo, but it is helped by the fact that there are new moves like a roll, for example, which, not really that big, but it's minor things that help make this game a little bit more bearable. Unlike in the previous games, every single weapon that you can get in this mode is available to Jill, except for the AR, which are specifically for the mercenaries, but every single gun that's in that game is yours for the choosing, but yet again, mainly depends on which choices you take throughout the game. The game itself is mainly just Resident Evil 2, but with improvements that make the game just that little bit more of an enjoyable experience, like the rolling I said and some red barrels, but just mainly a good experience overall. And just like Resident Evil 2, the game is nearly perfect, with just the minor issues, like I said, with like the tank controls and the not amazing acting. But I give it a 9 out of 10. And the fact that it's similar to Resident Evil 2 in the ways that are just, great, that make it amazing. But different enough to give it the ability to call it a sequel without being, just a carbon copy, with the branching storylines and all that. The trilogy of games with all the Resident Evil games was a perfect introduction to the Resident Evil games. If anybody's never heard of them, that's generally where I imagine starting them. If you're in the 1990s, I assume. But I personally wish I was able to, play them when they first came out, but all this cool experiences and stuff were spoiled. So I was lived with Resident Evil 7 and all that stuff. I will eventually cover the rest of those games which very much improve the formula that every fan will come to love with this game, which, you know, absolutely justifies the 30-year-long experience that this game is known for. So if you enjoyed this video, have a good day.